afternoon everyone. So once again welcome back you all to the online classes, and today we are going to discuss the 6th unit of your SST part, that is Independence of India. So here you all know that before more than a century we are under the rule of many people, so mainly the Britishers and all. So we have made a lot of struggles to get the freedom, right? So about that, in many aspects, we are not only get the war by in a single way. So many people were struggled a lot and they were used many ways to get the freedom, and many were sacrifice their life to the country. So by the contribution of all these people, so we got freedom, and nowadays we are all free and we are all enjoying our life because of all those bloods, right? So in this unit we are going to discuss about all these things, and today we are going to start the first chapter of this unit, that is India under East India Company. So before going to learn how we get the freedom, we have to learn how the other people started ruling us, right? So first we can discuss about this, how they ruled us, and later we can discuss how we got the freedom. Okay, what are the steps taken to get the freedom? So about this all we can discuss in this chapter. So first we can discuss about the India under East India Company. Okay, so let me begin the chapter India under East India Company. So see, by the mid of 15th century, yes, by the mid of 15th century, the Arab countries, right, the Arab traders, we can say, Arab traders had established a flourishing trade with the India, means the flourishing trade with the textile as well as the silk and the spices, mainly the spices. So these, by mid of 15th century, the middle of the 15th century, the Arab traders, they established their flourishing trade with the textile, silk and the spices, mainly the spices with India. So by seeing their trade, so because they are growing economically, enormously they are growing in their economic status, so it was attracted by many other people also, and even the European countries, that too mainly the Portuguese, so they were also wanted access to trade with the booming trade with the India, because already the Arabs, they had established the flourishing trade with India in the textiles as well as the silk as well as the spices, because our India was rich in all this. We were fortunate with all this. So already the Arab traders, they were started the flourishing trade with the India with all this. So by seeing their economical growth, even the European countries, the two mainly the Portuguese, they were attracted and they wanted to establish, they wanted to access their trade, the booming trade with the India in all these aspects. So that already all the land routes means the routes which are they have wanted to come, the routes will be there. So all the land routes were controlled by these Arabs and Turks. even though they are controlling the land routes. So that land routes they can control. The land routes they are controlled by the Arabs and Turks. So they have to enter the India for trading purpose. Then how should they enter? Yes. So because of that, they were started exploring the new routes to India, and they exploded the sea routes. So by the sea they can enter the India. So likewise the other country people, they were started entering to the India because of the only purpose for trading. For trading purpose they enter our country. Okay. So this is how they enter the country, and the first time by the sea, Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese sailor, Vasco da Gama. So he was the Portuguese sailor. He was the Vasco da Gama. He was the sailor of Portuguese. He was reached the India for the first time by the sea route. The Vasco da Gama, he was a Portuguese sailor, and he reached India by sea. He was the first person to reach the India by sea. Reach India by sea. So by the sea route he was reached the India for the first time, because the land routes were controlled by Arabs and Turks, so that other country people, the European countries, they wanted to access their trade with the India, so that they were exploring the new routes, and they found the sea route to enter the India. And in that, the Vasco da Gama, the Portuguese sailor who was entered or who reached the India by the sea route. And after going to a tip of Africa, so he visited all that, and he was visited till tip of the Africa, and later he reached the India by sea. That too, for the first time he reached the place that is Calicut in the year of 1498. So the Vasco da Gama, he reached the India by sea, and in India he reached the Calicut in the year of 1498. And he was the first Portuguese sailor who entered the India by the sea. Okay. And later, by the year of 1510, by the year of 1510, they took the Goa. Yes, they captured the Goa. By the year of 1510, they captured Goa, and later they even also captured the Diu and Daman. Diu, Daman. What are these Diu and Daman? Yes, they are the islands. So they enter this Vasco da Gama, he entered the India at 1498, and later by 1510. So by 1510 they captured Goa, and later they even hold the Diu Daman. They are the islands. So likewise they started go on holding and capturing and ruling our country. So likewise one by one territories they are go on grabbing them. They go on capturing them, and they started their rule in the India. And later, by seeing the Portuguese, even they also grow by the India. So economically they were growing enormously. Their economic growth will be very faster. So that this all it was attracted by other people such as the Dutches, British, as well as French. So for everybody, our India was become a trade destination. So if they wanted to trade, yes, that is with the India. So likewise, for everybody, the India has become the destination for their trade, right? So likewise, our India and many territories of India, they go on captured by the others. So now we can discuss about the advent of East India Company. How the East India Company was established its branches in the India. So advent of East India Company. So the East India Company, it was established in 1600. You just remember the dates, years and all. East India Company was established in 1600 under the consent of the Queen of England. Yes, it was established there in 1600. The East India Company, it was established in 1600 under the consent or under the supervision of the Queen of England. So they were established this East India Company. It is for the trading purpose, and this company has some of its rules and regulations for the import as well as the export. So this is the East India Company. It is a trading company, right? So it has some members in it, so that according to the their own whatever they made some rules for that. So according to that, they were running this East India Company. So here in India, the Mughal Emperor, okay. So here the company, it was started soon. It was started trading with the eastern countries, especially India. So later when it was started, so it was started trading with all the countries, especially the eastern countries such as the India. And in that time, the Mughal Emperor, the Jahangir, the Mughal Emperor Jahangir, he was ruling the India. So that time he allowed the British who ruled India at the time, and he allowed the British to establish the trading companies in the India. So he was allowed the British to establish those British in the India in the year of 1608. So in the year of 1608, the Mughal Emperor, the Jahangir, who was ruling the India in that time, so he allowed the British to India in the year of 1608, and soon after they have set up their first factory in the Surat. So from the East India Company, the East India Company built or set up their first factory in the Surat. So East India Company set up their first factory for trading Jahangir when he allowed the British in the year of 1608. So they wanted to establish their factories under the East India Company. It was a trading company. And so they were very soon after when the Jahangir allowed the Britishers to the India. So they were set up a factory at the Surat for storing the foods and commodities. So commodities means the daily basis, whatever we need. So to store all that the commodities as well as the foods. So to store that they were started this factory. So this factory, it was by the East India Company and that was set up at the Surat. Right? So this is how they started there, and also by that one by one they set up many factories like this for the trading purpose, and they were gone. There are many factories they built in the India. And now we can discuss how the British acquire India, and even when they go on setting all these factories. So mostly they build many factories in the coast and or in the coastal areas. In the coast, so they built many factories of there, and they started ruling like this because when the factories are more, so they want the laborers to maintain those. Okay, when they set up the more factories, so all the Britishers from their land they cannot pay. So to run their factories they need the laborers, right? So they used to appoint the Indians, right? When they established their factories in India, so when they want the laborers to work there, so there they appoint the Indians, and there also again there the tolerance. Okay, so discrimination will be there. So for British employees, they were used to pay more salary for the same work, and the Indians workers they used to pay with the less salary for the same work, and the Indians workers they used to get more work, but the Britishers they were having some relaxations. So likewise they made many discrimination among these British workers as well as the Indians. So likewise it was there in that time. So when they built more factories in India. So now we can discuss how British acquire India. How the British acquire India. See, for the Britishers, it was not become a heavy task to acquire the India, because when they entered the India and when they started this all the factories and all, and they observed the emperors of India, the rulers of the India of many territories. So India is the vast country, there are many territories will be there. Yes, so that when they observe all this, and also they observe the internal unrest the prevalent. So internally there is no peace with the internal relationship between the emperors of other territories and some other different territories. There was an internal unrest the prevalent, the relationship. So they observed that, and they were started observing the weakness of the people or weakness of the emperor in India. So that they have taken as an advantage. So even they saw the discrimination So they all took the advantage of this, because we know that there are many religions are there, yes, and their beliefs are different. So in some religions, if they believe in the idol form of God, so we are worshipping the God in the form of idol. So some statues will be there. So depending on that we worship. But some religions, what they are having, they don't believe in the idol. The God is omnipresent, and they were worshipping the God in the form, just in the form of symbols and so likewise. And in some religions there is they usually they allow the consumption of the meat, and in some religions they forbidden the consumption of the meat. So likewise the discrimination and also the caste, yes, the caste discrimination and all. So they observe all this, and by observing all this they took the advantage of that, so that they can put some misunderstanding between the emperors. And also the Indian rulers, they had provided certain trade concession for the British as well as the French traders. So they have certain trade concessions. For example, it may be in the tax and all. So likewise they had some concession. And but later what happened? In the year of 1757, the Nawab of Bengal, that is Siraj Uddau. So he was observed that the British traders and the French traders, they were misusing all these concessions provided to them. So that after the Siraj Uddau found that they were misusing, so he used to argue, because they are the people from other country, and when they are misusing all the facilities what we are given to them, and also when they started to rule us, so that he opposed that, and this conflicts lead to the Battle of Plassey. The Battle of Plassey, it was took place in the year of 1757. The Battle of Plassey, it was took place in the year of 1757, and it was the beginning of the British. Yes, this Plassey, the Battle of Plassey, it was the beginning of the British rule in the India. So it was the first war, and it was the beginning of the British for the to rule in the India, right? So likewise they acquired the India. So before they took the advantage of all whatever the weaknesses are there in the emperor of the India, and different territories having the different emperors. So by finding all the weaknesses of the emperors, they took the advantage by those weaknesses, and they built their strong empire in the India. And so likewise they acquired the India. And now we can discuss about the advantages and disadvantages of British rule. So when the Plassey took place, so it was that time the Robert Clive. Okay, Robert Clive was there. So in that time, so they under the many soldiers and all, they were misusing that. So now we can discuss the advantages and disadvantages of the British rule. So there are many advantages are also there by the British rule in India, but more than the advantages, disadvantages are there. The advantages and disadvantages advantages of British rule. So now we can discuss about this advantages and disadvantages of the British rule. So see, whatever the laws which are proclaimed by these Britishers, they are all not for the benefit of the Indians. They are all only by the view of the progress of the British trade. So whatever the laws, so of course nowadays whatever the laws they made, they are advantageous to us. Of course, we are taking the benefit from some laws of the British. But whatever the laws they made or whatever the laws they framed, they are all only they kept the view of the progress of the British trade, not for the benefit of the Indians. But nowadays they are helping us so that we can say some advantages. So now I will draw two columns like to write the advantages and the disadvantages. Advantages. So for disadvantages we can leave some extra space because the disadvantages of the Britishers are more. Disadvantages. Okay. So the first advantage is they started the railway line. The Britishers started the railway line. In India, that is on 16th April 1853. So they were started the first railway line in India, and this they have started for their trade purpose, for their transportation purpose, not for the benefit of India, but we have taken the benefit of this and nowadays also. So this they have started the first railway line, that is from Thane to Bombay. Thane to Bombay, they have started the first railway line. So that is one benefit or the advantage of the British rule. And also the British introduced the post and telegram facility. The British, they have also introduced the post and telegram facility in India. They introduced post and telegram system in India. Okay, they have introduced the post and telegram system in India. So these are the advantages. And see, some disadvantages we can discuss. And some more disadvantages I will tell you. And even the British rule, they have improved the agricultural output. They improved agricultural output. Through many modern methods such as the irrigation canals and all, by building the irrigation canals. Likewise, they develop the agricultural output, but also that is also for their economic progress only. See, if the Indians widow marriage. So these are some advantages of the Britishers. So that they have started the first railway line in India, that is on 16th April 1853 from Thana to Bombay. And the second advantage, they introduced the post and telegram system in India, and they improved the agricultural output by constructing the irrigation canals and all, and they built the cities with the modern cities with the drainage systems and all, and they opposed some of the unjust social evils such as sati. Sati means what there? So if the male partner of a lady, if he died, or what you can say, the husband, if he died, so then the wife should also sacrifice her life. So they used to kill. So likewise that was there. That is what we can call the sati system. They opposed that. And the female infanticide. So if the newly born baby is female, then they have to kill that female baby. So that is what the female infanticide. And they encouraged the Hindu widow marriage. Widow means who lost her husband. So before it was there that once if she get married, lifelong, she have to live with them, live along with him. So suppose if he died, then she have to live her life alone. But they encourage the Hindu widow marriage, so that even though the husband is died unfortunately, so she can get the one more marriage with if she likes. So likewise they made some systems. So these are advantages for us. And what are the disadvantages? So the disadvantages are like this. The laws like that doctrine of lapse. Laws such as the doctrine of lapse. This law made the Britishers to capture many territories, to hold their rule on many territories of India. So according to this doctrine of lapse, what they do is, so usually the emperor or the king, if he died without having a natural heir. Natural heir means the next, if anybody the king, if he is having the son, the next king will be his son. Suppose if the king is not having his natural heir, so that territory should be given to the Britishers. So that will be go under the rule of Britishers. So they oppose for the adopting the child. So usually what the emperors, the Indian emperors used to do is, suppose the king does not have an natural heir. So then he used to adopt the child from the other people, from other king or from the other people. He used to adopt the child, but they opposed that, and they brought forward the rule, that is the doctrine of lapse. According to this, if the king does not have a natural heir, and they should not allow to adopt the babies or the child. So this is what, from this, when there is no king means that territory should be grabbed by the Britishers, and that will be goes to the British rule. So likewise they acquire many Indian territories, and the British forced Indian farmers to sell them the whatever the crops they are growing. For example, the cash crops such as the cotton and the silk and or whatever they grow. They forced the Indian farmers to sell them to the East India Company or the factories where they were built for trading purpose. They have to sell all their goods to these British companies only. So see, the second cheaper rate, and also the cash crops. The food, not only the food crops, the cash crops also. The cash crops such as the raw silk as well as the raw cotton and indigo. Raw silk, raw cotton, as well as the indigo. Indigo, it is a natural dye. The coloring agent is the indigo, a natural dye. So they forced the Indian farmers to sell them the food grains at cheaper rate. Not only the food grains, they even forced to sell their cash crops such as the raw silk, which will be obtained from the silkworms, and the raw cotton, which can be obtained from the cotton plants, and the indigo, it is a natural dye. So they have to sell them at the cheaper rates. So to very low cost, they have to sell them all these whatever the products. And later these British companies, they took them to the very low cost, very cheaper rate, and they sell them back with high cost, so that the economical growth will be developed. Economically they will develop. So they will buy all these goods for the cheaper rates, and they will sell them back in their land with the high rate. So that likewise they used to develop the economically. And social discrimination widened and widened caste differences among the Indians. The social discrimination. The social discrimination, because the first most thing, so whatever they found the weakness of the people or the emperor, that is social discrimination and the caste differences and all. So this social discrimination, it widened the caste differences. Widened the caste differences in the people, among the people. So likewise, these are all what the disadvantages of the British rule. So first thing, the doctrine of lapse. So that according to this law, if the king does not have his own or natural hair, so he could not able to adopt the child, and British forced to sell farmers, then that the food grains are sell them to the cheaper rate, and then even the cash crops are also sell them with the cheaper rates, and they sold them in pack. They sell them with the high rates, and the social discrimination widened the caste differences among the people. So these are some disadvantages of the British rule. Okay, and now we can discuss rise of discontent amongst the Indians. How they rise the discontent? So that even this, when they rise the discontent among the Indians, so they started to think about their freedom, and then many revolutions have made after this. Okay. Rise of discontent. Rise of discontent among us, the Indians. So see, the British exploited the Indians both politically as well as economically, right? So they exploited means they started harassing the people in both politically as well as economically. they were, and also they were grabbed many of the territories. And see, when these Britishers started the new companies for trading purpose in the India, many labors are of the Indians. So then what happened? For the same work, they pay the less salary for the Indian laborers and more salary for the British laborers for the same work. Even though they are working in a same place, even though they are working for the same work, then also the Indians were paid with the less salary, but the British workers, they were paid with the high salary for the same work. And also always the higher authority will be given to the Britishers only, not for the Indians. And they were ruled, the men's administration will be in the Britishers' hand, so that they will be ruled like anything. And later what happened, even the Britishers, they were started forbidden from following these traditional rituals. The religious rituals will be there. Yes, because we know that our country, it is a vast and it is having many religious. Our country is home for many religious and we respect everyone. And there in the British companies, what happened? The Indian workers, they were not treated with respect even. So they are not respected with the they are not respected. And then, but the Britishers, they were given the respect. And also they forbidden the many religious rituals such as the tilak. Usually some of the religious, it was there to put the tilaks on the head and all. And also they even forbidden bearding, means growing the beards as well as the moustaches. Yes. So even for everything they opposed for beard. So you know that it is somewhat the people, the males, they are thinking that is a prestigious one. So that growing the beards as well as the moustaches. So they have forbidden that also. And so that when they were started harassing or when they were started exploiting in all these manners, our Indians, they were starting to think how we are under the rule of the Britishers, and this leads to many revolutions in India, and this leads for many struggles for the freedom. So about this all, how the struggles have took place and what are those and how we got the freedom, that all we can discuss in the next class. So with this, I will conclude my today's class. I hope you have understood this, and even though if you have any queries, you can contact me and clarify your doubts. Thank you. Have a nice day.